News for parents if you need to go and pick up your kids there. Our Brad Broders is waiting on a press conference to begin at that Kroger. Brad, what can you see right now?
Well, Yvonne, I'm going to step out of the shot right now. You can tell there's an active command center right here in the Kroger parking lot. As you just mentioned, we are going to have this news conference in about 3 minutes. We got the 5-minute warning about 2 minutes ago, so probably about 3 minutes. Elvis, if you don't mind panning over to the left right there, you can see there's several Kroger employees, dozens of Kroger employees underneath this tree after that shooting earlier this afternoon in Collierville. Yvonne, we spoke with a witness about 30 minutes ago, and that witness was saying that she heard several shots inside the store, then hid in a cooler. There's a lot of unconfirmed reports right now. We are waiting on getting confirmed details, including the number of people shot, potentially the number of people killed, the situation with the shooter. We're awaiting all of that information. As you can see behind me, there's an active command center. We're going to get an update from Collierville Police in just a minute. If you're anywhere near New Byhalia and Poplar right now, I would advise trying to find an alternate route. There's still a lot of crime tape, a lot of traffic, so there's some alternative routes Yvonne wants to talk about. But again, we're waiting any minute right now. We're waiting on this news conference. Trevor, if you want to keep us up to date on those detours right now.
Yeah, thank you, Brad, and we will get back to you as soon as that press conference is set to begin. I want to get you some alternate routes, though, because as Brad just mentioned, traffic is very snarled. Obviously, a very busy part of town. Poplar Avenue, one of the main thoroughfares through Shelby County. Take a look at our traffic map right now, and you can see where the police activity is. It's at the northeastern corner of Byhalia Road and Poplar Avenue, and Poplar Avenue is backed up all the way down to downtown Collierville. So if you're trying to go eastbound or westbound on Poplar, forget about it right now. That intersection basically closed. Again, that's Byhalia and Poplar. Slow going right now. You're going to have to use either 385 or one of the northern, more east-westbound roads to get you around that. But again, Bill Morris Parkway, 385, or you can take I-269 up toward Wolf River Boulevard, and that will get you toward downtown Memphis. But again, right now, forget trying to use Poplar Avenue around Byhalia. That intersection closed right now due to that police activity, Yvonne.
Trevor, thank you so much. Now, this is Facebook video from a viewer, Bruce Andrews Jr. of the scene. As you can see, fire trucks and cops directing traffic in the parking lot. Definitely a very chaotic scene. This is Facebook video from a viewer, Bruce Andrews, that's showing a helicopter flying over the scene, flying over that Kroger on Byhalia Road. And this is another video of those helicopters flying over the Kroger from Manny Reyes on Twitter. We're going to send things back over to Brad Broders, who is out on the scene awaiting a press conference that will be starting in just a few minutes. Brad, are you able to give us an update?
Yeah, Yvonne, it should be happening any minute. I'm going to step out of the shot right now. You can see Collierville Police Chief Dale Lane and others, members from the Memphis Police Department, Shelby County Sheriff's Office. They're all on the ground right now. We're expecting this news conference any minute right now. Again, as this shooting situation at the Kroger in Collierville on New Byhalia Road, a little before 2 o'clock this afternoon. We're going to get details on what happened. So many pieces of information we're about to get confirmed. But this is a very active investigation right now. There's dozens of Kroger employees underneath that tree that my video journalist has right now. So we're just continuing to monitor this situation and find out more. But again, just a couple of minutes ago, a witness told me she was inside the store when that shooting happened, heard several pops, and then hid in a cooler for safety. She was still very shaken up. We'll have some sound with her later on at 5 and 6 throughout the evening. We have team coverage right now. Rebecca Butcher, Caitlin McCarthy. We're all team coverage here at ABC 24. Trevor Burchett's doing a great job. I'm back in the studio with the traffic. But again, we're waiting any minute right now as law enforcement. It looks like it appears that Dale Lane is approaching right now. So, Yvonne, I'm gonna put this on the microphone, and we're going to take this live right now. I'm going to put this back on. This news conference is about to begin.
Brad, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We're going to take this news conference in full.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dale Lane. I'm the Chief of Police, Collierville. It breaks my heart to have to stand before you today because we've had an incident here in Collierville that has been occurring all over the country. Today at 1:30, hours, or 1:30 p.m., our dispatch received a call of an active shooter occurring at the Kroger behind us. At 1:34, the first car arrived on the scene. Immediately, our cars began to flood the area to secure the scene. As we entered the building, there were multiple people shot. Our SWAT team, along with patrol officers and our command staff members, began the process of going aisle to aisle, room to room, clearing, bringing employees out that were in hiding, and helping the victims that were injured. At this time, we still have a couple of active scenes that we are working. The suspected shooter's vehicle is in the parking lot, and we are waiting on some additional equipment to get here to be able to safely check that vehicle, as well as some property that's on him. At this time, the shooter is deceased. We believe that's going to be from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We have 13 victims. Our hearts go out to those that were injured. We do have one fatality, and our thoughts and prayers are with those family members. We had, like I said, we had 13 victims that we know of at this time. Now, please bear with me and know that this situation is probably going to change, and we'll do another update, another briefing, probably in 3 hours, somewhere in that range, and we'll update you. But we know that we've had 12 victims that were transported from this scene, and we also know that we've had at least one additional walk-up to local hospitals. Today I have Assistant Chief Jeff Ablin with me, our Fire Chief at Collierville, Chief Billings, his Assistant Chief King, Assistant Special Agent in Charge Jeremy Baker with the FBI. We have Colonel Smith with MPD, Chief Inspector Mills, Derek Mills with Shelby County. And I can't say enough about the cooperation and the help. And as bad as this scene is, and it's horrific. I've been involved in this for 34 years, and I've never seen anything like it. But our teams came together and worked together. That's not just the law enforcement agencies, but the fire. Sometimes there's a delay. There was no delay with our firemen coming into that scene with us. We just trained on this back 2 months ago at Collierville High School. So it is, it's like I said, it's with a broken heart that I have to stand here before you today. So please keep the families in your prayers. Keep the folks from this Kroger. We have a representative from Kroger here as well. I'm not sure if they're going to give a statement at this point, but everything is preliminary. So with that, I'll open it up for just a couple of real quick questions.
Chief Lane, do you know?
One at a time. At this point in the investigation, it appears to be one shooter. Both. We have one victim and then one shooter that's DOA at this point.
And so just to clarify, 13 people shot and of those 12 injured and one dead, correct?
Right.
Not counting.
At this point. Now remember, we're still receiving information that's coming in from other parts. Even we've got some reports there may have been some walk-ups in Fayette County with Fayette County Ambulance Service. So we're trying to confirm that information now. But this, like I said, this was a joint effort. We had, Chief Billings can speak more to the number of ambulances and where they come from, but every city around came and supported the sheriff. Right now, that crime scene is huge, and it's being worked by the FBI's evidence response team. TBI's got agents en route. The Collierville Police Department Detective Division, or our Criminal Investigative Division, is in there, and the Sheriff's Office. So it's going to take a little bit to know exactly what happened. That's part of the ongoing investigation. That's something that we don't need to talk about. It's all still under investigation. I do not have any information on that at this point, not to my knowledge, but they're very serious injuries. I do not at this point, but we know that we have quite a few witnesses. We're bringing in additional detectives. for people that were in the store. There were numerous employees that were working. I know we found people hiding in freezers and in locked offices, and you know, they were doing what they had been trained to do: run, hide, fight. And so, you know, I hate that we had to do it here. That's part of the investigation. I don't want to get into that.
Can you give us an idea of what kind of weapon he was using?
No. I'm not going to go into that at this point. Let's get through the investigation. Remember, we're 2 hours away from the most horrific event that's occurred in Collierville history. That's part of this investigation.
Chief, there's an image circulating on social media about a person who is suspected to be the suspect on the top of the building. Can you confirm or deny that?
I cannot. I can tell you this. I was part of a team that extricated an employee of Kroger from the top of the building, so it's more than likely going to be a Kroger employee that was working on the roof.
Chief, what's just the aftermath of this for this community, these employees you were just mentioning? How does this rank in Collierville business right now? What you're all dealing with?
I mean, obviously, it's like every other community in the country. It's horrific. We hate that it happened, but this is one of the most resilient communities in America, and one of the best police departments. I'm very thankful. I watched guys that ran into the front of that building, knowing that historically, not in this case, but historically, many of these shooters have very high-powered rifles, and not one of them hesitated going in that front door. I have met with some as we were bringing them out of the building. I have not talked with all of them. So, yes, ma'am. Okay. I tell you what we're going to do. We'll take one more question, and then we're going to pause this for about 3 hours. So, anybody else? One last question. Yes, ma'am. No, they're spread out among all the area hospitals. Now, that's part of the investigation, so we're going to hold that right now. What we don't want to do is create unnecessary fear, okay? All right, thank everybody. I appreciate you.
All right, you just heard from Dale Lane, Chief of Police in Collierville. Brad Broders is preparing to give us a live report. Let's give him just a second to prepare. Again, a very sad day in Collierville. Police chief is saying that community is resilient, but this may be one of the most horrific events that has happened in Collierville history. Brad, what can you tell us?
Well, Yvonne, you really just summed up one of the most notable comments from Chief Dale Lane just a second ago, saying this is one of the most horrific criminal events in Collierville history. He talked about these first responders being resilient, knowing that a lot of these active shooter situations, a lot of times they have very high volume weapons. Just honoring those first responders who went in knowing the risk of the situation. As we can report just a couple of minutes, some other highlights we just heard, a total of 13 people shot. At this point, they believe that the person who opened fire committed suicide and is dead on arrival. So it appears that this was a mass shooting leading to a suicide. So the one person dead, Collierville police believe was the shooter. 12 people injured, a variety of injuries. Chief Lane just said several of those injuries very serious. They're spread out at hospitals across this region, including Regional 1, presumably here in Collierville and other areas. So a lot of victims right now, a lot of things to sift through. This investigation is just at its beginning, Yvonne, but again, to recap, 13 people shot in total, 12 people injured. They believe at this point the one person who died was the shooter. At this point, it is not clear whether that shooter was a former or a current employee here at Kroger. Elvis, if you don't mind just panning off a little bit to the left right there, you can see a lot of the Kroger employees huddled up under this tree. The aftermath of this, it's impacting not only these Kroger employees, but obviously the first responders on the scene, Shelby County, Memphis Police, FBI. They're all on the scene right now assisting in this ongoing investigation that, again, is very very fluid. But again, to recap, Yvonne, some of the highlights of what Chief Lane just said. 12 people shot, 1 person dead. They believe the 1 person who was dead was the person who opened fire inside the Kroger. But again, we do not know at this point whether that shooter was a former or a current Kroger employee. Really, the motive of what led up to that shooting, that is going to be one of the major questions for investigators as this investigation gets underway. It should be a lengthy investigation. Yvonne, I'm going to send it back to you in the studio.
Brad, thank you so much. A lot of things to get to, and let's start right now. We just got that update from Chief Dale Lane, who says that at 1:30 p.m., dispatch received the call about this active shooter situation. Police arrived, he said, within 4 minutes is when the first cop car showed up. Multiple people shot, multiple victims injured. Several of these injuries are severe, serious injuries. He also mentioned that there are several active scenes that they're looking at right now. One of the things he mentioned was that the shooter's car is still in the parking lot, and they're working that right now. He also said that the FBI, the TBI, is also en route here as well. 13 victims, 1 dead, believed to be the shooter, dead on the scene. Now, another notable thing that the chief mentioned as well is that he said that they found people all over that Kroger, employees. Some of them, he said, were hiding in a freezer. They did what they knew to do when they heard those shots and went and hid. Now, he says, again, he described this scene so vividly, horrific. He says he's never seen anything like this in his 30-plus years of law enforcement. He also called this the most horrific event possibly that has occurred in Collierville. We're going to keep you updated on this as this story, of course, continues. We have people here at the scene. Brad Broders is still at the scene. Brad, are you able to give us another live picture?
Sure, Yvonne, I just wanted to recap. You gave just a tremendous update right now of the highlights of what just happened. Just one other note, Chief Lane will have another news briefing, probably about 6:30 or so we should have additional information about that. Still, obviously, a lot of unanswered questions right now, hoping to get a little more clarity at that next update. But we're still able to learn a lot of new details of this news conference, was just wrapped up right now. Very active, very early in this investigation. An incident that's going to stick with this community for a long time. Chief Lane just mentioned, unfortunately, these incidents happen all over the country, and you never know what time, what community it's going to hit. Well, today it hit the Memphis suburb of Collierville, Tennessee, a place not accustomed to many homicides on an annual basis. But today, this afternoon, they're dealing with 12 people injured, 1 person killed in what appears to be an active shooting, and then a suicide of that shooter inside this Kroger in the middle of the afternoon on an early fall day. This active shooting situation comes to Collierville. Yvonne.
Brad, is absolutely heartbreaking as the chief described it. I do want to ask you something. You said you spoke to witnesses today. What were those witnesses telling you that you spoke to?
Yes, we spoke to one about probably 40 minutes ago, and it was just really, she was an older woman, still really rattled, but what she told us was she was inside the store and heard several pops, and that woman hid in a cooler. And as you just heard from Chief Dale Lane of Collierville Police, that was not the only person in that store, whether it was a customer or an employee that frantically tried to hide anywhere. Chief Lane was talking about some people hid in offices, others hid in freezers. The witness was telling me she was still a little cold, even though it's not that cold of a day right now, but spending substantial amount of time in that freezer. I can only imagine what the stress level must have been like for that witness. We're gonna listen to her interview in a couple of minutes. We'll air that at 5, hear from her firsthand, but that woman was not alone. Presumably dozens of other customers, employees in that same situation. They're inside the store minding their own business on a Thursday afternoon when an active shooter comes in the store and opens fire, and they were just trying to take cover in any way they could. That included, again, hiding in offices, hiding in freezers, Yvonne.
Brad, thank you so much. Let's recap everything we know right now, and let's also show some video of what viewers were actually sending us today. We have a couple of videos of helicopter footage as well that we can pull up for you right now. Let's talk about what Chief Dale Lane gave us again. He says at 1:30 p.m., dispatch received this call about an active shooter situation in Collierville at this Kroger on Byhalia Parkway. Police arrived, he says, in 4 minutes is when the first cop car showed up. Several victims are injured. Some of those injuries are very serious injuries, and they're at local hospitals spread all across the area. What we do know is that the shooter, they believe, one shooter at this time, only one is what they believe at this time. He or she is dead on the scene with a self-inflicted gunshot wound is what preliminary investigation is showing us right now. We also have video right now of police in front of a hospital. Is this Regional 1? Police in front of a hospital right now. Again, a lot of victims were taken to several different area local hospitals to receive care and treatment as they recover from their injuries right now. Let's get back to that timeline for a second. We know that there are several active scenes right now, is what Chief Dale Lane told us today. One of those scenes that they're looking at is actually there inside of that parking lot where the shooter's car is. TBI, FBI are en route, and they're looking at everything right now. No word on a possible motive at this time. It's just too early. We're going to send things over to meteorologist Trevor Burchett with a check of traffic because it is pretty heavy in that area.
Yeah, as you can imagine, Yvonne, first responders piling onto that scene, as you said, within a matter of minutes there in Collierville. But Poplar Avenue, where this store is located, is arguably the busiest east-west corridor in Shelby County. It takes you from downtown Memphis all the way through Germantown and into Collierville, which is about, of course, 15 miles to the east of Memphis. So this is a major scene there, as you can imagine, and traffic is being rerouted because of that. Take a look at the map right now. There you see that police icon in the middle of the screen. That is where the Kroger store is, and you can see the red Poplar Avenue there. That's because traffic is backed up from Byhalia Road all the way east to downtown Collierville, and traffic is also backed up northbound and southbound on Byhalia Road. So basically, you just want to avoid this area if at all possible, really from Houston Levee all the way over to downtown Collierville, of course, Byhalia Road, somewhere right in the middle of that. This is just an area that you do not want to be in right now. This scene is going to be active for likely the next several hours, as you just heard, several scenes currently being investigated. A couple of detours if you're trying to get from Collierville toward the city of Memphis. You can take Bill Morris Parkway, that's 385. You can also take Collierville Arlington Road or I-269 northbound to get somewhere like Wolf River Road or Frank Road and get you westbound to Houston Levee. But as you can see, Frank Road right now at Byhalia Road also slow going. But the moral of the story is traffic very backed up right now. Poplar Avenue at New Byhalia, unconfirmed right now, but I would venture to say that that intersection is probably closed down as the police continue their investigation. Yvonne.
Trevor, thank you so much. Again, police calling this horrific. Never seen anything like this in their years of law enforcement. And that's according to Chief Dale. He says that this could possibly be the most horrific event that's occurred in Collierville history. Let's walk you through what we know right now. Again, the shooter, the presumed shooter, one person, they believe, is dead on the scene. Self-inflicted gunshot wound is what they're reporting right now to be the cause of death in this situation. 13 victims, all spread across different area hospitals. Those injuries of the victims could be anywhere from mild to severe. There are a range of different injuries, very serious injuries, as Chief Dale Lane has said. Let's talk about this timeline. We do want to walk you through as we look at some video that we received from viewers earlier today. At 1:30 p.m. is when dispatch got the call about this active shooter situation. Police arrived on scene within 4 minutes. They found people in that Kroger in several different areas. They're saying they saw some people hiding in freezers trying to get away from fire. We're going to send things back over to Brad Broders, who is live out on the scene right after Chief Dale Lane's press conference. Brad, what can you tell us about what you heard? What big takeaways you heard from today?
Well, another comprehensive recap, Yvonne, just there from yourself. Those were kind of I think what really struck me is that Dale Lane, he's been in the Shelby County law enforcement for a long time, and he's, for him to put this on such a large stage, so horrific, so unprecedented for Collierville. I mean, he's a man who would know. He's been in this community a long time. A lot of activity going on right now. I see a minister talking over there, and you can see a lot of Kroger employees are still over there by the tree talking to appears to be a manager or someone with Kroger. So this is a lot of things to sort through. This is still an emotional, a volatile scene. Again, I mean, this is not something that you would expect to come to a community like Collierville, but as Dale Lane said, active shootings can happen in any community in America. And this afternoon, it came to the Memphis suburb of Collierville in Shelby County, Tennessee. Again, we know 13 people shot, including the shooter. They believe the shooter injured 12 people, and then the shooter took their life. And so one person dead. The shooter was dead on arrival as first responders went in there. But again, Yvonne, just another thing that struck with me was that in these active shootings, a lot of times, Chief Lane mentioned, I mean, we're talking about serious weaponry that can fire a lot of bullets in a short amount of time. Despite the risk they knew going in, those first responders went in. Chief Lane said none of them hesitated. They all went in to protect the workers, the employees in that Kroger store. And so again, we're going to have another update probably about 6:30 this evening, hoping to learn more details about whether the shooter was a current Kroger employee, potentially a preliminary motive of what led that shooter to open fire around 1:30 this afternoon here at this Kroger on Poplar Avenue in New Byhalia. So a lot to unpack. We're going to have team coverage on air starting at 5 o'clock. Caitlin McCarthy's here. Rebecca Butcher's here. Great video journalist Janice Bridges is here. My video journalist I'm working with right now, Elvis. We're all on scene. We have a lot of cameras. We're getting a lot of perspectives from witnesses, people coming here trying to assist in any way, emotionally, really at this hour, because these 12 victims, some of them, again, seriously injured, according to Chief Lane, are being treated at a variety of hospitals across the Memphis area, including Regional 1, Collierville, and throughout the Memphis area. So we're going to continue to keep tabs on those 12 people's conditions, because the way Chief Lane described it, very serious. So we hope those 12 that are being hospitalized right now all pull through, but there were some serious injuries, Yvonne.
Brad, absolutely right. Thank you so much for that. And another thing that Chief Dale Lane mentioned as well when it comes to first responders and people in that community is that he mentioned they are resilient, and they showed that strength today. Now, people are already sending their thoughts, their prayers, their well wishes to people in Collierville. We have a tweet from Marsha Blackburn that says, our office has been in contact with the ATF, TBI, and local authorities on the ground, and we are closely monitoring the situation in Collierville. We are praying for all of the victims. Again, that is from Senator Marsha Blackburn. Let's go and take a look at the video that we got from some viewers earlier today. That video of helicopters flying over the Kroger as this investigation is continuing today. What we can tell you right now is 1:30 is when that call came out to dispatch about this active shooter situation. Again, at this time, police believe it was one shooter involved in this. We're going to send things over to Caitlin McCarthy. I believe she is at Regional 1 Hospital, and let's see if we can get an update from her.
And well, Yvonne, right now, earlier today, there were nearly a dozen first responders from several Shelby County area law enforcement. But right now, you can see it's a much quieter scene than it was just about an hour ago. There were ambulances from Collierville, Memphis, and Shelby County here to help. There's still Memphis police here outside the trauma center here at Regional 1. So as we know earlier, there are 13 victims and 1 dead, and the shooter is dead from alleged self-inflicted gunshot wound. We're still learning the condition of victims. And as we learned earlier from Collierville Police Department, that victims are at several area hospitals. But earlier today, there were nearly a dozen ambulances rushing victims here at the trauma center at Regional 1. Earlier today, the street here where traffic is flowing again now was closed off to make sure the ambulances get through right away. But we'll keep you updated on air and online as we learn more about how the victims are doing and speaking with victims' families. Yvonne?
Caitlin, thank you so much. We really appreciate that report. Again, what we heard from Chief Dale Lane is that the victims that are transported to these different hospitals have an array of injuries, but many of them are very serious. So we'll keep our eyes and ears out for them. Definitely a lot of prayers to everyone in Collierville that's been affected by this. Let's take a look at this map of where the shooting happened at that Kroger on New Byhalia Road in Collierville. Traffic is definitely busy in that area. Trevor, are you able to give us an update right now?
Yeah, Yvonne, much of the same. Really, you want to avoid Poplar Avenue. You see there, Highway 72. That is the main thoroughfare that's going to take you through Shelby County. If you're not from Memphis, that's the road that gets you from downtown to the suburbs. And it's very crowded, especially this time of day, with folks leaving their offices downtown and trying to get to their homes in the suburbs in places like Collierville and Germantown. So I will have a few alternate routes for you. Let's take a look at the traffic map again. That incident happening at Byhalia Road and Poplar Avenue. If you're familiar with the area, it's a very busy intersection. That green line you see there that's kind of running from the northwest to the southeast, that's where Highway 72 splits off. And that again is another pretty major thoroughfare there in Collierville, in the western part of Collierville. So Poplar Avenue right now, very busy. Even Peterson Lake Road, as you go up to some of the housing developments, it's getting crowded because folks cannot get through on Poplar Avenue, and Byhalia Road is also pretty crowded right now as well, as you can imagine. Police still investigating those multiple scenes that we've been telling you about at the Kroger store on New Byhalia Road in Collierville. So as far as those detours go, these are going to work eastbound or westbound. If you're trying to get toward Collierville, basically avoid Poplar Avenue. You're not going to make it on Poplar Avenue much farther east than Houston Levee, especially if you're trying to get through Collierville and over to places like Piperton in Fayette County. So Bill Morris Parkway, 385, take that up to 269. That's a great alternate route. And of course, you can also use things like Wolf River Road. That's going to get you from Germantown toward the north side of Collierville. But for right now, avoid westbound and eastbound Poplar Avenue as you're approaching Byhalia Road with the increased police activity and the investigations as a result of this unfortunate shooting at the Kroger store there on New Byhalia Road. Yvonne.
Trevor, thank you so much. Another thing that you just mentioned as well that police have told us is that they are working multiple scenes. They didn't go into deep clarity on all the scenes that they're working, but one of which that we know in particular that they mentioned is the shooter's car, which is actually still in the parking lot of that Kroger on New Byhalia Road. They are working that investigation right now. The TBI, the FBI is en route. And again, an outpouring of love and support is already starting to surface online for the community there in Collierville. We do have this tweet from Senator Marsha Blackburn that reads, "Our office has been in contact with the ATF, the TBI, and local authorities on the ground, and we are closely monitoring the situation in Collierville, and we're praying for all of the victims." Definitely a devastating day here in Collierville. Police Chief Dale Lane describes this event as horrific, that he's never seen anything like this in his years in law enforcement, and he called it the most horrific event that's possibly occurred in Collierville history. Let's walk you through everything that we know so far. Again, for people who are just joining us right now, police received this call, dispatch did, at 1:30 this afternoon about this active shooter on New Byhalia Road at this Kroger. Now, police arrived in 4 minutes to the scene is when the first cop car showed up. They found multiple people inside of the store, employees, people who were just shopping in the Kroger, and they found them in various different areas. One that Chief Dale Lane mentioned specifically was that he found people hiding in the freezer, just trying to do whatever they could to get out of the way of this gunfire. We do know that there are 13 victims, 2 dead at this time, including the active shooter, who they believe died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's what the preliminary investigation is telling police officers right now. As of right now, they are not releasing any information on what kind of weapon this person had. We also don't know at this time if this person worked at the Kroger or if this person was just a customer at the Kroger. We're working to learn those details as well. We do know that those victims have an array of different injuries. Some, Chief Dale Lane says, are very serious. They're being treated at different medical hospitals right now. And we're definitely thinking of them, praying for their families. Brad was giving us a lot of live looks at the scene where you could see that there were a lot of police officers there. We're being told right now that we know that there are police officers from Memphis police officers. Shelby County deputies are there as well, and of course Collierville police. But you also saw a group on camera from Brad that was there with Kroger employees that were gathered and huddled together. We're going to take a live look now with Brad Broders. I believe he has a witness there at the scene that can tell us more of what they saw.
I don't think we're live anymore. Partner they have. I was trying.
All right, we are setting up to speak with that witness. Brad and the crews are there. We're having some technical issues just getting that audio to you. As soon as we have that, we'll be right back. Right now, let's take a quick look at this tag board that we're creating right now to just show some more of this love and support that we're seeing here. This is all on social media. This tweet right now from the HBK, it says multiple injuries, what police are describing as an active shooter situation at Kroger in Collierville, Tennessee. Another tweet that says, breaking another video of just showing the scene. Active shooter at Kroger in Collierville, Tennessee, multiple injuries reported. And this tweet right here, praying for the people at Collierville, Kroger. Definitely a lot of outpour of support. Of course, Senator Marsha Blackburn as well has tweeted out her support for people in Collierville as well, saying that she is aware of the situation and that she's sending her thoughts and prayers to many people there. Another thing that we really can't mention enough is what Chief Dale Lane said about the first responders that got on that scene. He called them resilient, and he also called this community here in Collierville resilient as well. That as devastating as this is, they are joining together and they're going to get through this. We're all going to get through this. Another thing that we need to talk to you as well about is just this timeline of how everything happened, of what we know so far. Is that this call came in at 1:30 this afternoon. Police were there within 4 minutes. That is very, very fast. And when they got there, they saw a horrific scene. That's what police are describing it as, horrific. Never seen anything like this in many years of law enforcement, where they found multiple victims inside of the Kroger, as well as the active shooter from a self-inflicted gunshot wound who is dead. We're going to ask more questions. Of course, I believe there's another press conference that we'll have within a couple of hours, in about 3 hours. For now, we're going to send things over to meteorologist Trevor Burchett, who's keeping a really close eye on the traffic in that area and giving us some detours as well.
Yeah, Yvonne, it is going to be a busy scene there, as you can imagine, for the next several hours with first responders doing their investigation. So basically what you need to know is that Poplar Avenue is not going to be a good route for you to take, eastbound or westbound, if you're trying to get to and from Collierville. Let me zoom on in here and I'll give you a little bit of an idea. The Kroger store, of course, sits on the northeastern corner of New Byhalia Road and Poplar Avenue. That's where you see that police icon. And then, of course, the Walmart is just to the east of that. You've got Sheffield's Antique Mall right there, a very busy intersection in Collierville just to the west of downtown. But you see the yellow and the red on Poplar Avenue. That is where traffic is very, very slow going. So you're going to need to find some alternates other than Poplar Avenue and other than New Byhalia Road to get you around this evening. Peterson Lake Road would be a good alternate to go north as it takes you through those residential areas, but it is also getting a little congested as well. So the best detours continue to be Bill Morris Parkway. That, of course, will get you from downtown Memphis over toward the south side of Collierville and vice versa. And then if you're trying to go east and west, you might be better, or if you're trying to go north and south, excuse me, you might be better off just going to I-269, and that will get you up along the Fayette County line, because Poplar Avenue, Byhalia Road, those are the areas that you want to avoid right now. Let the police do their investigation. Let the fire and the EMS crews get in there, because that is going to be a crowded scene for quite some time, at least for the next several hours, at least through rush hour, Yvonne.
Trevor, you're absolutely right. Definitely. One thing that Chief Dale Lane mentioned as well is that they're working several different scenes in that area. One in particular, besides the Kroger, of course, is the shooter's car, which is actually still in the parking lot. The FBI, the TBI are all en route to help with that investigation. Police are already there, of course, but in full force. We're talking Memphis Police Department. The Shelby County deputies are there, as well as Collierville police that are leading this investigation at this time. They're all there. Another thing that we want to mention, too, is the resiliency of those first responders that were diligent in getting people out of that Kroger and getting them to safety and taking control of the situation. Securing that perimeter has been really important, I'm sure, within their investigation. Let's talk about everything that we know so far until we're able to get that scene from Brad and that interview with him. We know that dispatch got this call at about 1:30 this afternoon is when this happened. Police arrived in 4 minutes. We know multiple people are shot. We're talking 13 victims, 2 dead, including the shooter. They believe at this time that the shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Here's a couple of things that we don't know that we're working on for you at this moment, is that there's no word on what kind of weapon the shooter used. There's also no word on whether or not this shooter was a employee at Kroger or if this person was just a customer coming in. We do have this tweet from Marsha Blackburn as multiple people are coming in and really giving their heart and their support to the community here in Collierville. That tweet from Marsha Blackburn is that she is aware. We're getting that tweet up for you right now. Here it is. It says, our office has been in contact with the ATF, TBI, and local authorities on the ground, and we are closely monitoring this situation in Collierville. We're praying for all of the victims. I know a lot of people are. I've been receiving texts and tweets and things like that of just people wanting to check in. This definitely is a very horrific scene in Collierville as police are describing it. A lot of people are praying for the victims here, and especially those Kroger employees that are actually still in the parking lot. Many of them, I'm sure, witnesses to what happened and are speaking with investigators as this investigation continues today and in the days and the weeks to come as they learn what the motive is. As of right now, we don't know anything about that either. That's something that will, of course, come up hopefully within deeper investigation as police gather more information about what happened and what unfolded here. But again, 12 victims or so are at different regional hospitals at this time getting treatment. Their injuries vary. Many of them, Chief Dale Lane says, are very serious injuries, and so our thoughts and our prayers are with them as well. And the first responders that actively, resiliently got on scene and did what they needed to do to control, de-escalate the situation, and get people outside of that Kroger and get them to safety. And now they're speaking to witnesses right now. But again, all of this happened at about 1:30 this afternoon. All right, I believe we have Rudy Williams here with us in studio. Rudy, what can you tell us? All right, we're getting that situated as well. Let's do another recap. We have a lot of great video that many of you have been sending us in. We have helicopter video and footage of a lot of what happened as people were watching this just from the grounds, just looking on to see what was happening here at this Kroger on New Byhalia Road in Collierville. A lot of people were getting images of seeing helicopters swarming, of seeing lots of police on the ground, on the parking lot or in the parking lot in front of that Kroger, talking to witnesses, securing the scene, gathering evidence. But again, Rudy Williams is here standing by in studio. Let's talk with him now.
Well, that's right, Yvonne. There's an awful scene that we're seeing there right now. And at this point in time, we know that investigators, as you said before, are on the scene in the parking lot there talking with employees that were in the store at the time. We've heard lots of accounts, but they are working to find that out right now. There's a lot of speculation, of course, that we've seen online and otherwise, but they've got to talk with every one of those people that was there to get a clear indication of exactly what went down inside of that store. As we heard police say earlier today, they went inside of that store as soon as they got that call around 1:30. They went aisle to aisle, room to room, to see if they could find exactly where everyone was located. They escorted those people out. We also heard online and on social media that there was a shooter on top of the building. We heard Dale Lane earlier say that there was an employee that was taken off the top of that building as police arrived. So there's a lot that needs to be found out in this situation right now. A very horrific situation, a very devastating situation for the town of Collierville and also for Memphis as well. Yvonne?
Rudy, you're absolutely right. Definitely a horrific day. Chief Dale Lane described it as horrific, nothing like he has ever seen in his years of law enforcement. And I believe we have sound from him.
Our dispatch received a call of an active shooter occurring at the Kroger behind us. At 1:34, the first car arrived on the scene. Immediately, our cars began to flood the area to secure the scene. As we entered the building, there were multiple people shot. Our SWAT team, along with patrol officers and our command staff members, began the process of going aisle to aisle, room to room, clearing, bringing employees out that were in hiding, and helping the victims that were injured.
First responders really did a lot today to control and de-escalate this situation. Another thing that we want to talk about as well is that there are several active scenes that they're working on right now, one of which is in the parking lot of that Kroger, which is why Trevor has been giving us a lot of great updates on traffic of the area to avoid, because they're going to be there for some time, gathering more information and trying to piece together a motive. There's several things that we still don't know at this time, but that we're learning and gathering information about. I'm going to send things back over to Rudy Williams with more.
That's right, Yvonne. We also want to mention those victims of that shooting. A lot of those people are going to area hospitals. Regional 1 is a trauma center, and a lot of victims of shootings go to that particular place. So they were expecting those people, that dozen or more. And we also heard Dale Lane say that this number could change of the victims that were involved in this shooting today, because this investigation is still going on. You mentioned that they are going to be looking at the car. There could very well be explosives. There could be anything regarding this situation. We've seen this situation play out across the country in several places, and it happened to hit Collierville on this morning. So we're waiting to hear from investigators everything that they may find out from those employees that were inside of the store at the time, a lot of them very shaken. I spoke with a young man earlier today who runs a barber shop across the street, and he described the scene. He was even shaken up being across the street. This is the parking lot. Well, right now we're looking at the helicopter there. But across that parking lot is if you can see it here, there is an entire row of stores. There's a shopping center, there's a pizza parlor, there's a barber shop in there. And that gentleman described to me the helicopters flying around, the chaotic scene that occurred there. He also talked about employees from the store before the police officers arriving coming over to use the restroom and to get water, and how they appeared visibly shaken, as you could very well imagine, by a situation like this. So there will be lots of stories to tell from those people that were inside of the store, not just the employees, but people that were there shopping. They may have been going in to grab a carton of eggs or a carton of milk. That sort of thing would be, of course, a very scary moment, a very tense situation for any of us. One man that we also talked to was arriving to the Kroger, and he saw people running out at that time. Of course, no one knows exactly what's happening at that point in time. These are the things that investigators and police will be asking people who were on the scene, so we can get a better indication, a clearer indication of what happened at that Collierville Kroger today.
Rudy, you're absolutely right. And we have several cameras, several crews. I'm glad you were able to get out there and speak with witnesses as well. We have a lot of crews on the ground right now gathering more information and gathering those stories to hear from those witnesses directly of exactly what they saw. Police, I'm sure, are speaking with them as well for their investigation also. Another thing that Chief Dale Lane mentioned today was that his heart was broken to have to stand before us today and talk about this, having to share this information about the horrific event that happened here. All right, let's take another look. All right, I think we have sound from Dale. Let's take a look at that right now.
At this time, we still have a couple of active scenes that we are working. The suspected shooter's vehicle is in the parking lot, and we are waiting on some additional equipment to get here to be able to safely check that vehicle, as well as some property that's on him. At this time, the shooter is deceased. We believe that's going to be from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We have 13 victims. Our hearts go out to those that were injured. We do have one fatality, and our thoughts and prayers are with those family members.
And that was sound from Chief Dale Lane from a press conference earlier today. We're hoping to get an update from them within a couple of hours as we learn more about their investigation. And of course, can we pull up that tag board? A lot of support is pouring in for that community in Collierville, and we also need to share and shine a light on that as well, because that's very important. They're going to need that. We're going to need that in the days and the weeks to come as people heal and as we learn more information about exactly what happened. One of those tweets that we know for sure that we have is from Senator Marsha Blackburn, that she is sending her condolences to everyone that's been affected. She's also saying that she's very aware of the situation that's happening here, that the TBI, the FBI is en route. She's talked to people on the ground. Here is that tweet. It says, quote, "Our office has been in contact with the ATF, TBI, and local authorities on the ground. We are closely monitoring the situation in Collierville, and we're praying for all of the victims." I believe we have a couple of more tweets as well in this tag board. If we can get to them, that would be great. All right, we're going to pull that up in just a second. We're going to send things over to Rudy Williams while we get that ready.
Yeah, while we're looking for that, and we just heard sound from Dale Lane just a moment ago, and I've worked with Dale Lane for several years during my time here in this market. Now, I've not seen him as shaken as he appeared in that interview just moments ago. Very devastating not only for his department, but also devastating for this community as well. Now, I did reach out to Kroger, Kroger spokesperson, have not heard back from them, but if you've been inside of that store, happen to have been in Collierville at any point in time, it's very cavernous inside. You walk inside, and to the right, you've got your produce department, you've got your meat department, and all of those very low ceilings. Some Krogers have very high ceilings, they're very spacious. This one is a little bit more compact. So you could imagine if something was going on and being on one side of that store and hearing a shooting or gunshots inside of a store, that could be very confusing to you and also very frightening. So just imagine those moments and what it would have been like inside of that store. And as we get more information that we should hear, as Yvonne said just a moment ago, in the next few hours, we'll have a clear indication of exactly what happened there. But it's going to be a very, 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 very long investigation to find out what exactly happened there. Now, I'm hearing that we've got a witness account that we want to share with you right now from the control room.
It first started in the deli, and I heard some gunshots. We thought it was balloons popping. So when it kept on going, we said, no, there's gunshots. So I ran. Some of my co-workers and some of the customers came, and we ran, and I kept on saying, go, go, go. So we ran to the back of the store by the meat department, and there's some double doors that'll take you to our break room. So we ran all the way back, and there's some more customers that was coming in, but they was coming in through the meat department, through that back part. And I told them, you all come on, let's hurry. And then all of a sudden, I went through the receiving department, and there's another door that takes you outside the receiving department. And there's another opening where you can go in and hide through an incinerator. And here he comes right behind us, starts shooting. And he kept on shooting. He shot one of my coworkers in the head, and then shot one of the customers in the stomach.
A horrific account from a witness inside of that Kroger who saw the shooter and saw the shooter shoot people in front of her. Definitely praying for that community. We're going to continue our live coverage. Please stay with us both on air and online as we continue this story and send prayers to Collierville.